Morning. I wanted to shoot you over a lesson to kind of tie everything together that I've given you on those charts, because I know that's just a lot of confusing stuff with the caged. So what that's getting into is you're based on the open chords, which have your open tune strings E, A, D, G, B, E. I think E, A, D, G, B, which but I need dumb things to help me remember. For your standard tuning. So that's going to be those 4 strings, counting the open note, or the for frets, 4 steps, and that extrapolates up. So this that position's called the open position, and that's your C chord. With the 5 strings. The A is on the 2nd fret, all of them, or you can bar it with 1 finger and kind of mute the bottom string. Then there's the G, I'm spelling caged, C-A-G, then the E, and then the D. So those are your standard open position chords. So what they're doing is, with adding that bar, you extrapolate that down the line off of the bass note for whatever chord you're doing. So that's like on the C form, or I'm sorry, the A form. Your open chord B is your 2nd finger, 2nd string, 2nd fret, or I'm sorry, your 2nd fret, 2nd string, the B note, and then you do what's that A form down. Like I said, I like to use the pinky. When I get down maybe further, I use the other finger. It helps me rest my hand. It's easier. It frees up fingers for other little kind of lead-in runs. But mainly just, so your hand doesn't cramp, because these chords, even when you're playing them a lot, or even more so when you're playing them a lot, your hand can cramp, and you can have some issues that way. So it's good just to be able to change the form, especially if you're just doing 2 or 3 chords, over and again, and not getting that relief. So that's B, and then just by how we move down a string, E, F, the half step between E and F and B and C, and when we move that form, that's a C chord. So in caged, that's the A form. This chord is an A form, and that then just as we go down, B, C, 2 frets down to D, 2 more frets down to E, 1 fret to F, 2 frets to G, and then we're here at 12, where everything repeats from our open stuff, and we can move it down appropriately and play the same thing there, and you get the different tone. You're in key, you got your notes, etc. Really helps you learn the fretboard and the where your lead notes are. So the C form is the last one I really got to do, because I ignored it. And again, you can do it just in even that 4-note cluster. Songs do. And it's, again, it helps you when you're seeing, well, I'll give a little lesson here at the end with the tune I was just doing that I think will illustrate it. So anyway, so with the C now, you're getting into this situation with the pinky, 1 finger per fret. That's, so I'm doing basically my, I'm barring what I would say the A, that to make that chord, putting these 2 fingers down. That's you got riffs in there with your pulling on and coming off. You got the pinky as well. That's going to go up here. So I have that C form between these fingers, and and I'm doing the bar to maintain the other notes, making up that chord. So that's going to be, that's my D chord in a C form. I'm playing a D, but in caged, that's the C form. So if I move it up a fret, now I'm at E flat, up another one, E, 1 step between E and F, so that would be F, G, A. So a lot of times, if I have a person that's playing down here in A, I come up here, between the 9th and the 12th fret in that C form, and I can get a lot more melodic, more pitchy there with it, where they're getting maybe just more of the basic drive, whatever the case may be. Both playing an A chord, I'm just doing it in a C form. To do that, in the A form, you know, was again this way, just the, you know, open strings and that A. So then we go G. This is another tough one to hit actually, so I don't do this one much at all, but it does help as far as those charts when I was showing you to tie in those other notes, because I know here from G, when I'm on the top and the bottom string, they're tuned the same, so they're both going to be the same note when I'm fingering the same fret, that the next situation, because what it would be, I would be borrowing these open strings. Well, in this case, I'm just playing them. I'm letting them ring, but I move that up to a G sharp. Now I'm across 4 frets, trying to maintain that form. It's certainly easier up here to do, you know, so that's going to be an E, because you know, that's my bass note, E and E, and I'm in that G form. Like I'm saying, I mean, this is more so to maintain. Okay, that's going to be my my G or my E note there, which it would, because you know, if I'm fretting this, and that I'd go down a string and over 2 is E, and then it bridges up again to where I'm repeating like I was playing these 2 open strings the way they're tuned to E, you know, without anything fretted. That's my G form. The E form, you know, is your E chord here. That's the hard bar chord that kind of gets everybody a little bit. What you know you can do is, well, there's quite a few things, but well, you just want to work at it, because when you get in this form, it's such a great thing, because if I lift up my pinky in that form, I'm at an A7. If I lift up another one, I'm A minor 7. They're movable chords, so I mean, you can really get around and make changes in the chords. You know, there's all types of things. You know, you get into major types of situations, but now you're just simply manipulating a couple fingers here, there, drawing over, picking up, hammering down, or just flat out changing it. You know, as opposed to going from here to here for A7. You know, I'm going, you know, and again, those things extrapolate through these other chords, knowing the notes and the movements. It would just be a little different based on the fingering. But that E one is definitely, it's a big one. These are your power chords. And when you're really kind of just gritting in there, down and dirty, you know, AC/DC, you know, whatever you're trying, or just, you know, the real, you know, punch up in the song, you know, those power chords are great. So that's our E form. And then our last one is the D form, which is your open D here. This is a bear. I don't use it because I don't have press and digitation. I think with my fingers, my stubby full-figured fingers. But it's, so, you know, I'm basically, when I do it down here to replicate at the 12th, because the gaps, it's easier for me to make. You know, I'm trying to squeeze that D form in there, and then use this bass note. Well, you know, the hack, the cheat is, you know, don't play that other string that I need to worry about the bass note down there 2 other frets. You know, so I do it on, you know, on the bottom, so I know, you know, up here D, and then if I go up, you know, 2 frets, there's my E, there's my F, you know, there's my G, there's my, you know, A, B, and C, and again, that would, you know, replicate the notes that are there, you know, when I'm down here for C. Another way to look at that, because this ties into that movable C chord as well, is on that movable C chord, you're doing a D form over those 3 strings. So when I know, you know, now I put into my head that I'm in G here, because I'm also, or I'm sorry, I'm in A there, and then if I go up to the C, because form, it's still, see, when I'm on those bottom strings, I'm playing the exact same thing. My fingers are in the same spot. This one, it's actually that G, and I'm just doing the bottom 3. You know, this one, I'm actually in that C form, and I'm playing, you know, basically the middle 4 strings, and with the bottom string included. So, you know, there's just so much to do, because you can move in and out of those things. You know, one thing that you can do on this E chord is, you know, if you play your F just over the 4 strings, you know, you should. You can also make that, you can add that C note here and do it where, you know, your pinky, you know, so you're building that up. You know, some people with the thumb, Hendrix just throw, you know, he could throw his thumb there and do that same chord, make the form, but you can definitely, you know, just even with the 5 strings, doing that other easier form, move it down, you know, and if you're on the 4th string, you're still doing the same thing as this E bar, you know, because this would be an F chord. Because now I took that E form and I went up 2 frets. So there's the shape now, up 2 frets. Or up 1 fret, I'm sorry, because here it was on the 2nd and 1st, and here I'm going to the 2nd, 3rd, bar in the 1st. But that's, you know, so you can do that chord, you can get those tones by doing that as well. And again, there's a lot of real good just kind of hammer on and pull off kind of intro type stuff. Getting, you know, you can get real airy in that chord with, you know, moving around. You know, but I don't play like that all the time. But the good thing is just for chord recognition, because if I hear, you know, just from doing an A minor 7 here, I know I can do it this way. So you can really bring it all across, because now your fretboard's going to make sense. It's going to be a lot easier to find notes, because if I know this is an A and that's my lead note, well, that's going to be an A. And sure enough, you know, I'm at the 12th, so that would be my open 2nd string, which is tuned to an A. The one other thing I wanted to impart, and I will give you some charts on this, is soloing does run in patterns. And it's usually like one, you know, like this, in this case it would be 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then I go down here and I go, you know, 2 notes again, so 5th fret, 7th fret, then I go down 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret. Now at this bottom 2 strings, it just goes up 1 string. And you know, these patterns, there's a little song I've been doing, or part of a song that just this, you know, pretty simple riff. It's played fast and this and that. But so here I'm playing an E note. So if I'm doing that A form, and trust me, the more you look at this, the more you integrate it, the more it'll make sense. Because that's my A, and I just have the bar there so I can get the bass note here on the 5th string, on the 7th fret, 2nd string. You know, so that's my E chord, so I know, you know, that's going to be the note, and then 1 string down and 2 frets over is another E. You know, so that's, well, in this case, it's going to be an A chord. Oh, no, that would be the E, because I was on the 5th string. So anyway, and then I'm going A, B, and then a G, A ender. So the reason I'm bringing this up is with this riff, because it repeats a lot and they go all over, and it's, you know, it's like a 10-minute, you know, 12-minute, 15-minute Grateful Dead jam that they do. When I bring that down here, and I know now that I'm on, you know, this is going to be my E. And you see how that's in that pattern. You can also flip that to where you're doing, you know, every other fret, you know, for 3 times up top, and then 2 on the next string, and then 3 again, and then 2. I'll give you the chart. But, you know, the way the tuning comes in, those are, you know, ways to solo where you can be in these note patterns. But, you know, so what I'm doing here is E, E, A, B, G, A, E, E, A, B, E, E, A, B, E, E, A, B, E, E, A, or E, E, A, or G, A. You get the point. So now it's going to be the same thing here. With that being said, now I'm just going up 1 fret to start that same pattern. So my E is here, you know, I'm tuned down to the 12th. So at least now, like the note clusters, you can start looking at that, because you play piano, so you're used to a straight line. Well, this is 6, you know, lines tuned differently. That's the pattern. That's the thing behind this cage system, is those movable formations now allow you to do those chords in these other positions, and it helps you maintain where you're at, which will keep you in key, and know that you know. So now I think you're just manipulating the octaves and the tone. because I'm playing, and these bands have two guitar players. Sometimes they'll bring in a third. So they get real hairy with this stuff. But the basic concept is I'm playing the same thing, just in a different position. So just like with the chords, A is here. My next one would be, because this is actually going to be that G position, because there's my bass note, G, A on the third string, and that comes down here. But that's where my E bar chord, bridges off of that. So, A is there, and then like I said, then I'm doing A here. From here, here, and here is A. There should be more point. Oh yeah, so then the next one is going to be, because that was the E position. Then the next one's going to be my G, or where I would be doing. I'm sorry, the D. So I'm down here, and then like we were saying, that really just, because that's the end of Cage. Now I'd start spelling it again with the C chord here. So that's what you're going to see with those patterns or anything that I've shown, is how it just really moves. So that's good. That's a movable chord where I'm in A, now I'm in B flat, now I'm in B. If I keep that form and just move everything up, that's the rub, that's the deal. I'll get you the soloing things as well, but that's kind of how that ties it together. It's a lot of fretboard recognition. It helps to memorize the notes. I've learned a lot from tablature, where they just say, "Okay, moron, put your finger here, and you do this, or you're doing this," and it's the fret on which string or strings, and that illustrates it. I don't read sight music. I've had a class that I just barely, it wasn't a big focus or concern, and it doesn't have to be. You can get on YouTube, watch the videos, see all those things, and any song that you want to see, somebody's going to show you how to play it. But this is going to be, like I say, just that fretboard recognition, so that when you know where you want to be and what you want to be playing, you've got 5 or 6 places that you can do it here, and all of those replicate down here. So now that should give you your ability to think off of those clusters and roots, get into riffs, learning things like that. And because where I'm at in the Cage system, it's dyads, triads, so it's things I'm sure that I'm playing, but it just hasn't, the epiphany hasn't clicked on the light and this and that, how to utilize those properly. There's so much, and bottom line is you're having fun, but you can have a lot more fun when you know what you're doing, because it really, that is the key behind so much of the great music, is really just taking advantage. You're not just starting a whole new song, you're really kind of getting into that same, it's going to be in the same key, the same structure, all this other stuff. At least as far as I can tell. And you're just playing it out more in these different spaces, getting those different tones and the ability, to make something grow and explode in there, and then give way to the rest of the group to bring you on home. Okay, well, have a great day. I hope this has helped. I keep wanting to bring my guitar in there, but I know I won't have the time really to sit down and get into it, and this way you can kind of just look back again at that. I'll get you the other charts, but it's as much as anything just really realizing that those 5 forms, and it spells out C-A-G-E-D as it goes down, so that's where it's going to say, C form, well, that's that type of chord, and the other, but in this spot, well, that's an F, and I can tell that from D, E, F, I can tell that from knowing, I can tell that from this being an F bass note, on the 5th string right there, that's how it all plays out. It's fretboard recognition, so that, especially when you're playing with somebody else or even yourself, to spice up the tones and do things. My A here, is different than down there, is different than here, but they're all an A chord. So that's, and then down here, because it repeats at 12, I'd be borrowing that. That's that difference in tone, that mentality, and now you always know where your spot is. So if you do get it, which you should, I need to, is, learning it by notes as well, because now you're just playing in those boxes. you're in there, and you can really just, that's the music, that's the mentality, and that's how you're going to have the most fun with this. All right. Oh, I did, real quick, the A7, it's got this gap in here. This is the Supertramp song, Give a Little Bit. And this helps me to kind of keep track of it. That's my A7. So, here off of this B form, well, if I have the, just the 4th fret on the 3rd and 5th strings, and then the 2nd on the 2nd, 4th, that's a 7 chord. So that's my C7 as well. That's, this is my D7, E7 in that form. Beauty of bar chords. Here I can do a B7 this way, down to E7. Because here's, an E7 here. It's a little more cumbersome. But, I mean, different spaces, different places, and how you want to fall in. But anyway, so I'm going A7. Now, the next thing in this is up here. And they're doing it with this open bass note on the G string in this particular song. But that's actually my C form. It's an A7 as well. But if I put my finger here, that completes that C form. So I look at this. So now when I'm seeing, if I am looking at tablature or people playing, where I'm at still. So A7, is going to move. They move here to down to this particular chord. Which again this would be me doing this C form here and lifting up that finger and just playing the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings. I go back to that C form here on the 5th fret now. Well, from just extrapolating A, 7, B7, C7. So that's a C7. So I'm going to A7, D, C7, which here would be A. C7 or A. Okay, I had to confuse all of that by thinking A7. Oh, D, yeah. I don't know. That's a bad example. But anyway, so then after the C7, back to the D to A7. Move up 2 frets, which would be a D7. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is when they bring it home, he's down here in that D form, and there, your that extra stretch finger is the open D note there, so that's why you don't have to worry about it in that open position. But we're going D, G, A, and then just back down. For me, that helps me remember, okay, I know where D is, but now, okay, G's going to be here, on the 7th fret, and then A will be the 9th. It's kind of like a good range finder for me, or a pin. You find a song where you can get some familiarity with dropping in these chords. So I play a song where I do F here, and I, there's one where I do A, B minor, and then G in that same spot. So there's a lot of different things as opposed to, you can do it both ways, and that's where you really get to change up in tones when you're looking at the song. So now you've not just learned it one way, you've learned it a lot of ways, and you can think that way as far as you're moving and why you're moving there. Because going back to my tab stuff, a lot of time when I'm doing this 3/4. I'm not worried that that's a D. I'm looking more from, okay, I'm going there to here, up to here, or that's a C7. But that's good to know. Obviously, when you're playing the song, and you want to be right, and you're playing with other people, and you need to be right. Those types of things are going to draw you more into, again, just understanding the fretboard, where you are, focusing on your bass notes. Because the stuff you're really going to get into is, you're going to start, getting these slide-ins and such, and knowing the note that you're at and what you're going into helps also, you know, build off of what you're going to do. It helps me remember songs as well. There are just certain ones that off of chords and vice versa, where I can remember chords off of the song that it's in. And again, that's all really just movable when you use that cage system, neck recognition, and the basis of the chords and the standard tuning that you play in primarily. Okay, well, that was that. Have a great one. Take care.